everyone, it's Jackie. Welcome back to my channel. So a new deck just arrived today, so I thought I'd go ahead and do a flip through slash first impressions of it, because this is a deck that I pre-ordered, so I was really looking forward to this deck. I have already opened it and I am equally delighted and disappointed with it. So I thought I'd go ahead and flip through it for all of you guys. Alright, so this is the movie tarot, A Hero's Journey in 78 cards. And it was illustrated by Natalie Foss, whose artwork is so distinctive, so beautiful. It's the reason why I had to pick up this deck. Again, I'm a big cinema lover, however, most movie tarot decks don't really interest me that much. I think that they can be kind of boring, even. There's a couple on Etsy I've had my eye on, but for the most part, mainstream mass market decks that are themed around movies and television don't often interest me. However, this one, because of Foss's artwork, just seemed so totally beautiful. It was produced by Lawrence King Publishing, which I'll say more about that in a minute, because there's a couple things in this deck I'm very disappointed with. But my disappointment is definitely not with the artwork, or indeed with this very lovely box that it comes in. It comes in a very sturdy box that has this really wonderful, I think you can see it on the camera, this kind of rose gold foiling. And it's, here's what's frustrating about this deck to me, is that the box is so beautiful and the cards are so beautiful, but the guidebook is just this very simple, flimsy, stitched together pamphlet, which it is in full color. And it does provide an introduction that kind of explains the conceit of the deck, that this idea that this deck is trying to replicate the hero's journey, which is this idea that is especially prevalent in Jungian psychoanalysis and archetype studies and film studies, that films basically follow a very similar formula that is sometimes called the hero's journey, where a hero encounters along the way all of these different Jungian archetypes and has to go through very specific touchstones in a narrative. So I think it's rather brilliant to try to create a hero's journey tarot deck. I think that works really well in a film deck. So I have no complaints there either. There is, so again, how to draw and interpret cards, some different spreads, which I think are quite sweet. And then there are full color illustrations of the major arcana, a description of the actor or actress being portrayed in the image and their character and what film this image is being taken from. And it's a very canonical deck. Like, these are definitely films that most folks would recognize, I would imagine. And then we get to the minors, and this is going to be my major complaint with this deck. The minors, you'll notice, do not have full color illustrations, and I'll say more about that in just a moment. They just describe the suits and the numbers and respective symbols and associations that we place with the suits and those numbers. And then there is this section that describes the courts, which just very briefly gives us an idea of, what are the kings, what are the queens, what are the knights, what are the pages. And it does also down here indicate, again, the actor or actress being portrayed in this position, their character, and what film they are in. However, something I noticed that is rather frustrating in this deck, see, again, the book suddenly gets very, very scant. Something I did notice about this deck that really frustrated me is that the major arcana and the courts are all figurative. The aces are also figurative, but they didn't put the aces in the book. The aces are not here. So there's no page in here to describe the actors and actresses and characters in films that have been assigned to the aces, which is thankfully not a huge deal. I recognized all 4 of them. But if you're somebody who doesn't recognize one of those aces, the guidebook is not going to help you, which just surprised me, because otherwise there is a solid indication of, again, all of the references here being made. So I don't know why the aces were not included. So now I say that the majors and the courts and the aces are figurative because the minors are pips, which I'll say more about that in just a second, because I'm really disappointed with that. But go ahead and flip through the deck. So let me set this lovely box aside so you can see. The deck itself is quite beautiful. Again, not the most amazing cardstock, but sturdy enough. These are the backs. They are not reversible, but I do quite like the backs. I like this kind of starburst image that's coming out of the iconography on the back, but yeah, as you can see, they're not reversible. So let me go ahead and set these beauties down. Now, what attracted me to this deck initially, let me get a little bit closer, is the Major Arcana. And the Major Arcana absolutely did not disappoint whatsoever. Natalie Foss's artwork and all its kind of surreal, colorful glory did not disappoint at all. And the films that are assigned to each position in this deck, I think, are very clever and really got me excited about this deck. So I don't regret having it in my collection, even though the minors are a bit of a disappointment, but we'll get to those in just a second. So first I'm going to go ahead and flip you guys through our majors and then the individual suits. So right off the bat, as the Fool, we have Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump. So I think a pretty perfect assignment. Again, I think that the choices that were made in this deck are quite clever, sometimes quite funny, and I will admit flipping through this deck got me pretty geeked as a cinema fan, so I'm pretty happy with it overall. The Magician is Matt Damon in The Martian. This card is one of the reasons why I bought this deck, which is Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice as the High Priestess. Like, I had to have this deck just because of this High Priestess card. I loved that way too much. I'm such a Beetlejuice fan. The Empress is Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra, which I think is a really great choice. A very funny choice to me, the Emperor, is Al Pacino as Tony Montana in Scarface. The Hierophant is Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone in the Godfather series. This card's another reason why I wanted to pick up this deck. So the Lovers are Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal as Jack and Ennis from Brokeback Mountain. I think that one is really sweet and lovely. And this is actually one of my favorite movies. I don't even know why, but the Chariot is Russell Crowe as Maximus in Gladiator. I love Gladiator so much. I just really like Joaquin Phoenix's performance in that movie, to be honest with you. Another really smart choice, I thought, this is Clint Eastwood as William Money in Unforgiven as the Justice card. Then we have, for the Hermit, Meryl Streep as Karen in Out of Africa. And this one's really funny. Wheel of Fortune is Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown in Back to the Future. Another great choice that I was really happy to see is my girl Ellen Ripley in Alien, played by Sigourney Weaver. So this is from Alien. This look is more of an Aliens plural look, but I was really happy to see her as the Strength card. I mean, it's a very brute force depiction of strength, which usually I don't like, but I'll make an exception for Ellen Ripley, like I really will. The Hanged Man is Bjork as Selma from Dancer in the Dark, which I thought was a really cool choice too, kind of a unique choice. Death is Jake Gyllenhaal again as Donnie in Donnie Darko. And then we have Morgan Freeman as Red in Shawshank Redemption as Temperance. This one made me really happy to see. This is Selma Hayek as Santantico Pandemonium in From Dusk Till Dawn, which is one of my favorite vampire films. She's here portraying the devil, which I think makes a lot of sense. And I really like this scene. This scene kind of was a bit of a sapphic awakening for 8-year-old Jackie when she first saw that film, so I was kind of delighted to see it here. This one was a really smart choice. This is Samuel L. Jackson as Jules in Pulp Fiction for The Tower, which I quite like, right? That Jules always shares this very dramatic Bible verse before he shoots people. Like this sense of striking down and very like a sudden act or strike of violence. So I thought that this was a really, really cool choice for The Tower. I was happy to see that one. This one's so sweet. The Star is Judy Garland as Esther in A Star is Born, of which there have been so many. Another reason I bought this deck This is David Bowie as Jareth in Labyrinth. So this one made me really happy. He's here as the moon, which I think is a great choice for him. And then our sun is Julie Andrews as Maria in The Sound of Music. And then another really fun choice I thought was Uma Thurman as the bride, Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill as Judgment. And then we have The World, which is Mila Jovovich as Lilu in The Fifth Element. And again, you can just really see how beautiful and dynamic I think that that Natalie Foss's artwork really is. I really love her use of color. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So here's our Ace of Coins. And again, they didn't bother explaining who these characters are or what films these are, which again, thankfully, I did recognize the 4 of them, or at least I think I did. This is Michael Douglas as Gordon Gekko in Wall Street from the 1980s. So I think a really great choice of Ace of Coins, for Ace of Coins. So I quite enjoyed that one. Again, I just wish that the guidebook was, you know, a little more comprehensive and included all of the characters. Okay, so here we go. The minors, like I said, are pips. And they are pretty pips. You know, they're not boring pips. I think they're visually lovely. And there is enough of a sense of kind of a narrative here, if you pay attention to the pips, that you can kind of make sense of what each of these cards does represent. However, I was quite disappointed to see the minors in this deck be pips. That just kind of threw me for a loop. I just feel like in a deck this visually beautiful, that is based on cinema, when you have the whole of cinema at your disposal, to have pips as the minors just kind of broke my heart. Just thinking about all of the really, really beautiful illustrated moments we could have had from the history of cinema as the minors kind of got me down. So that is one thing that I am pretty disappointed about, I have to admit. But again, I'm happy enough with the rest of the deck that I'll get over it. But it is something worth noting if you were thinking about picking up this deck, that the minors are pips. Pretty pips, but pips. All right, so we come to our first court, the Court of Coins. So our page here is Dev Patel in Slumdog Millionaire. Hold him up, try to keep the glare off of him. Then our Knight of Coins is Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. So we have Neo. And our Queen of Coins is Angelina Jolie in I just totally blanked. It's Lara Croft. Yeah, Tomb Raider. I'm like, hello, it's Lara Croft. Which I think is a fun choice for Queen of Coins. Like, I think that she's a treasure hunter, right? Or again, someone who's interested in hunting treasures to put them back. So I quite like Lara Croft as the Queen of Coins. This is one that I really liked this choice. So we have Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which I love this as King of Coins. I feel like it would be very easy in a deck like this to assign Willy Wonka to like a more whimsical position in this deck. But the thing about Willy Wonka is, right, Willy Wonka is an industrialist. He is a businessman, and not a very nice one at that. And so I think that having him be the King of Coins instead of someone, you know, kind of more whimsical is a really brilliant choice. So I was very, very happy with this choice as the King of Coins. I think that's very fun. All right, then we come to our Ace of Cups. Again, there is no indication in the guidebook who this is. I believe it's Allie from The Notebook. Again, her hair is blonde, but Foss's artwork oftentimes kind of inverts colors. But based on the dress and the hat and the hairstyle, I'm pretty positive that this is Allie from The Notebook, which would make sense, I think, as Ace of Cups. All right, and then we have our cups. Again, as you can see, they do change a little bit from pip to pip, so they're not totally just plain and simple pips, but they are pips, which I do think they're very pretty. So there's that at least. Again, I know I don't mean to harp on about it. I just was so bummed out to see that that the minors didn't get to be scenes from films too. I so was looking forward to having a movie deck. And again, like you can see, again, because the pips changed, there is a kind of sense of, a kind of storytelling here, which I think is interesting because I feel like if you're trying to learn how to read just pips, but you're not totally comfortable with a straightforward pip deck yet, this could be kind of an interesting choice as an intermediary deck, just because the pips here do kind of tell a story. They're very, again, symbolic and open to intuitive reading, but they do tell a story. They're not just pure and simple pips. So I think that this could be a nice transition into learning how to read just pips. So our Page of Cups is Joseph Fine as William Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love. I love the little fish sticking out of the cup. It's very perfect. Our Knight of Cups is Carrie Elwes as Wesley in The Princess Bride. Another great choice. Queen of Cups, we have Audrey Tautou as Amelie. Then this King of Cups makes me laugh, which is Bill Murray in Lost in Translation, which I think is a funny choice. All right, so then our Ace of Swords, unless I'm very much mistaken, I'm pretty positive this is Brad Pitt as Tyler Durden in Fight Club. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's who this is meant to be. Again, there's no note in the guidebook to let me know, but I'm pretty positive that's who that is. Which, if it is, that's a very interesting choice, I think, for Ace of Swords. Definitely. All right. Oops. Our swords. Yeah, see here, this is kind of what I mean. So we have Three of Swords, the Heartbreak card, and we see, like, in the hilt of these swords, these eyes crying and a heart in the middle. So it's like you can kind of figure out what they're supposed to represent. A little bit more easier than just a plain and simple pip deck. And they are pretty. 7 or 8. I really like this one, the 9. I think that's a really great anxiety card. So I wish, again, I do like this. That's why I said I was torn at the beginning of the video, is that, like, I feel like equally delighted and disappointed with this, because it's like, I'm sad that the minors are pips, but they are really pretty. And so it's like, I'm not that pressed about it, even though I keep bringing it up every 10 seconds. Sorry. The Page of Swords is Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, which I think is an interesting choice. Then we have our Knight of Swords, who's Noomi Rapace in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Just, you can kind of tell in this deck, again, the knights are sometimes both men and women, as well as the pages. Queen of Swords is Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, that very, very famous scene. And then our King of Swords is Tom Cruise in Minority Report, which I thought was kind of interesting to have Tom Cruise in the deck as Minority Report instead of like Mission Impossible or something a little bit more obvious. So I kind of like that it's Minority Report. All right, and then our Ace of Wands is Bruce Lee. Our Two of Wands. Getting stacked up here. Three of Wands. Four of Wands, Five of Wands, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I really, again, I love her use of color. These cards are very, very vibrant, and the artwork does really pop. So I am happy with the quality of the deck. And as far as that, this Page of Wands made me so happy. So this is Will Smith as Jay from Men in Black. I really love Men in Black, you guys. It's one of my nostalgia bomb movies that I watch like all the time still, and was very near and dear to my heart as a 10-year-old when it came out. So I absolutely love this movie. So I was happy to see Men in Black in this deck. Our Knight of Wands is Charlize Theron in as Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road, which I think is a great choice. And then our Queen of Wands is Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games. I think this is promotional material for, I think, Mockingjay Part 1 is what this is based on, if I'm not mistaken. And then last but not least, our King of Wands is Harrison Ford as good old Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, again, it's a really gorgeous deck. I am beyond in love with the majors, and I am beyond in love with the quartz. And again, I do like the pips, the minors, very much, just not in this deck. I so would have liked to have had this beautiful artwork continued through into the minors. So anyway, that's the deck. I am very happy to have it in my collection. It is a beautiful display piece. I will definitely be using this deck and kind of getting my hands on it a little bit and getting to know it more. I'm really in love with, again, a lot of the choices that they made. I do think it was a very intelligently rendered deck, so I am happy to have it. But let me know what you guys think down below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you disappointed that the minors turned out to just be pips? Let me know. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.